Hello there. While we in the UK obsess about Brexit, there is another battle going on inside the EU that could tear it limb from limb. As domestic news comes in that Theresa May has slapped down Philip Hammond's latest ploy to keep the Remain dream alive, other news from inside the EU caught my eye. But firstly, just in case you missed it, Philip Hammond, the UK Chancellor of the Exchequer, tried to argue recently that there was consensus within the Cabinet for an extended transition period of open borders with the EU post-Brexit, seemingly with the aim of keeping the status quo until the next planned general election so that the whole EU in-out question could be put to the people within that election. However, our PM, Theresa May, has today hauled that stratagem below the waterline by saying that freedom of movement will end in 2019. One up for the Leavers, as long as Mrs May can hold her position long enough, that is. Now, putting Brexit aside for a moment, let's look at the rest of the EU. Do you remember that, just after our referendum, the EU got together without us and announced that they were all united, and there were smiles all round as they paraded their harmony before the world and thumbed their noses at the UK? Well, that amity now looks about to be torn to shreds as the Visegrad Group, or V4 as it's otherwise known, a grouping of Poland, Hungary, the Czech Republic and Slovakia, is fighting Brussels over the imposition of migrant quotas and, on top of that, Poland is also planning to reform its own justice system in a way that has sent the Eurocrats into a tailspin. The Polish political reforms would give its own politicians much greater powers over the Polish legal system, something the EU is so appalled at that it has threatened to use Article 7 of the Treaty on European Union to suspend Poland's EU voting rights. This has not been done before. Far from caving in, the Poles appear to be up for a fight. After all, Poland is a sovereign nation, right? The EU has already started infringement proceedings against Poland, but the Polish Justice Minister has said he is ready for a political battle. On the migrant quotas, according to reports, the Visegrad Group has relocated just 28 refugees, despite the EU quota foisted on them being for over 11,000. The EU could impose large fines on the countries for non-compliance, but the Polish Interior Minister has said that the threat from migrants is much worse than the threat of sanctions, and the Polish PM has said that her country will not participate in Brussels' elites' folly. And now the V4 group is taking the side of hard-hit Italy, who wants to limit migration. That'll put a bit of a split across the EU. This is all turning into a major war of words and law between the power of the EU to dictate how a member state runs itself and the sovereign power of a member state to govern its own affairs. It will be interesting to see how far each side is willing to go and what the damage will be to the EU in the long term. The UK will, of course, be much the better off for being on the outside as these squabbles intensify. How do you see the battle between the EU and national sovereignty panning out? Please leave a comment below. Thank you. Please do like and share this video, and also subscribe to my channel. And when subscribing, please do remember to press on the little bell next to the subscribe button. That way you'll get an alert every single time I put up a new video. Thank you very much for watching.